お名前とご職業を。
George Rex Graham. I'm the owner of the literary journal Graham's Magazine in Philadelphia.
ポー氏とのご関係は？
He was chief editor of our magazine.
ポー氏についてお話しください。
Knowing all of his hopes and fears, the little annoyances of life, as well as his high-minded struggle with adverse fate. Yet he was always the same polished gentleman, the quiet, unobtrusive, thoughtful scholar, the devoted husband, frugal in his personal expenses, punctual and unwearied in his industry, the soul of honor in all his transactions. This, of course, was in his better days, and it is by these that we judge the man. But even after his habits had changed, there was not a literary man to whom I would more readily loan money for labor to be done.
ポー氏に給料の前払いを。
Yes, several times.
彼はお金にルーズでしたか？
He kept his accounts, small as they were, as accurately as a banker. I shall never forget how solicitous he was of the happiness of his wife and mother-in-law whilst he was an editor at Graham's Magazine. His whole efforts seemed to be to procure the care and well-being of his home. Except for their happiness and the natural ambition of wanting his own magazine, I never heard him deplore the want of wealth.
ポー氏には自分の雑誌を持つという野望があったと。
Yes. I believe he wanted to give the publication the name Pen Magazine, but I did not want to give up an editor as accomplished as he.
だからポー氏の夢の実現に手を貸すのを渋った。失礼。お名前とご職業を。
F.W. Thomas. I'm in the federal workforce in Washington, D.C. Poe and I have known each other for many years.
フィラデルフィア時代のポー氏の家を訪問したことがおありだとか。
Although the whole aspect of the cottage testified to the poverty of the tenants, the rooms impressed me as being neat and orderly. I found the poet's wife to be both graceful and agreeable. Nevertheless, her excessive pallor, a consumptive cough, and the deep facial lines caused me to view her as a victim to be claimed by an early grave. Both Virginia and Mrs. Claim were much concerned about their dear Eddie and made it quite plain to me that they had hoped most ardently that the head of the house would soon be able to secure some steady work.
あなたはポー氏から就職の斡旋を頼まれましたね。
Yes, I was asked for him to find him a government job in Washington. The toughest part of his employer is to keep him on trot, bartering his talent for money. I received a letter from him asking for $500 annual, as long as he didn't depend on his literature. The toughest part for him was having his employer keep on trot to him, bartering his talent for money.
ポー氏はその日どんな様子でしたか？
Contrary to his general habit, his clothes were rather slovenly. I noted that my friend had complained of feeling unwell. Poe told me he had gone to New York to find employment and also to try to publish a new edition of his tales, which has been unsuccessful. I could not help but notice that my friend was yielding to untempered habits.
あなたが訪問したのはポー氏がグレアムズマガジンを辞めて職探しをしていた頃と考えてよろしいですね。
Yes, that's correct.
グレアムさん、記録によると当時の彼の年俸は$800ですが。
The truth is, he cared little for money and knew less of its value, for he seemed to have no personal expenses. What he received from me in regular monthly installments went directly into the hands of his mother-in-law for family comforts.
彼の雑誌に対する貢献度は？
He made great contribution. 5,000 copies of Graham's Magazine in initial print were boosted to 40,000 copies while Poe was in active service. It reached the same level of figures as the world's largest circulation magazine around that time.
成功の立役者であるポー氏の報酬も当然上がったということですね。
No.
聞くところによるとあなたは当時フィラデルフィアの上流階級地区にある立派な邸宅にお住まいで奥様も足毛の馬が引く専用の馬車をお持ちだったとか。
I think it's time for me to leave.
最後にもう一つ、ポー氏がグレアムズマガジンを辞めた理由の一つにあなたがポー氏と反りの合わない人物を編集部に加えたからという説があるんですが。
Why don't you ask Griswold directly? It's no business of mine there was a feud between Griswold and Edgar.
先生、こういう証言の取り方はやはりどうも
何か問題でもあるのかね。
人の善意の裏側のようなものが透けて見えてやりきれないというか、こっちの性格まで悪くなります。たまには生身の人間の証言も聞いてみようと思いまして。
当てでもあるのかね。
フィラデルフィア郊外にエドワード・ペティットという面白い研究家がいるんですが。
ああ、この前ニューヨーク・タイムズで取り上げられたポータクの評論家か。
よくご存知で。なるほどね。
Hi.
お名前とご職業。
Edward Pettit. I'm a writer and a teacher.
フィラデルフィア時代のポーについて伺いたいんですが。
Poe moved to Philadelphia in 1838. He lived here for 6 years until 1844. During that time, he produced most of the stories that we still read today. Telltale Heart, Fall of the House of Usher, Black Cat, and so on. It was his most productive and most successful period as a writer.
雑誌の編集マンとしてのポーの手腕は。
As an editor for Graham's Magazine starts with a circulation of about 5,000. Under Poe's editorship, the magazine rises to 37,000 circulation. So he's very successful there. Poe's reputation in the country at the time is not, his national reputation is not as a poet and is not as a fiction writer. Poe's reputation is as a literary critic. And that's why Graham is so happy to have him aboard, because Poe is a very well-known literary critic. He's also a savage literary critic. He's known as he's known as Tomahawk Poe because he's so savage in all his reviews that he doesn't say a particular writer is great just because they're popular. He's really very concerned with creating a great national literature at the time, not a literature that is dependent upon, say, its European past. That Poe wants American writers to write like American writers, to create a new great literature. So he's constantly challenging other writers as a literary critic. And this makes him some enemies, of course, because he's not willing to say the things that will make people happy. He's willing to, that he'd much rather pursue what he thinks would make great literature. But he loves to put together puzzles for readers to solve. Poe's very fond of cryptography, and he likes to figure out little codes, and even includes them in one of his stories, Gold Bug. The Gold Bug is all about solving this code to get a treasure. But Poe challenges his readers to solve puzzles. One puzzle that Poe put in one of the magazines at the time actually was not solved until 1992. Someone came up with a solution for it just, a little over a decade ago. Over 150 years after Poe first published it.
グレアムズマガジン社長ジョージ・レックス・グレアムとポーの関係についてお伺いしたい。
Graham loves Poe when he first starts working in the magazine, and Poe's doing great work for him, and it's probably the most money Poe has ever made in his life at this time. I think he makes about $800 a year as the editor of the magazine, and Poe's doing a great bulk of the work as well, and putting together the magazine and editing everything that has to go in it and deciding what goes in. He starts to have problems with Graham because Graham wants to make his magazine more popular and include stories, vignettes, fashion plates of women in their beautiful gowns, to appeal more to the masses. And Poe doesn't want to do this at all. Poe is very high-minded when it comes to literary culture, and he wants to put in the best writing and really create magazines that showcase the literature of America. Graham wants to be more popular. They start to have a little bit of a falling out. Poe's not very tactful, it appears, when he believes in something. He just comes out and says it, and they have some arguments over this. Also, Poe's personal life takes a real turn too, because while in Philadelphia, his wife Virginia gets tuberculosis, and she gets ill. Consumption or tuberculosis in the 19th century is a death sentence. So his personal life takes a big hit, and this really does seem to affect him. That this is the time that when you get the stories that sometimes Poe gets out of control, starts drinking, maybe will go on a drinking binge. Poe's, I think, alcoholism has been somewhat exaggerated in that he doesn't appear to be the kind of drinker that he's drinking all day long, every day. He's always drunk. And we know that just because of the bulk of the work he produced. I mean, he's constantly writing. And it appears that when he was drinking, he couldn't write at all, that he could not produce anything.
グレアムズマガジンと私との関係は5月号をもって終わりを告げました。その後、同誌の管理はグリーズウォールド氏に委ねられました。私はグレアム氏はグリーズウォールド氏とも喧嘩をしたことはありません。がしかし、特にどちらをも尊敬できません。いずれにしても彼らと連絡を取ることは嫌です。ポーの旧敵ルーファス・グリズウォールドとは一体どんな人物だったのでしょう。
Poe and Rufus Griswold are collegial when they first meet. Griswold is editing an anthology of poetry and is asking Poe's opinion on it. Poe is giving him, Poe's own poems to be published in it. And they seem to have a collegial, friendly attitude towards each other in the beginning. It's when Griswold publishes his famous anthology, The Poets and Poetry of America, that Poe starts to lecture against the anthology. He, in a sense, gives it bad reviews, and Poe doesn't like some of the poetry that Griswold has chosen. When their professional relationship starts to sour, then when Poe's criticizing Griswold, and Griswold is also saying not very nice things about Poe to other people.